Glorious Revolution. 1688 Glorious Revolution. So let's talk about the Glorious Revolution. In the Glorious Revolution, what happens is that the British nobility invite William of Orange, who is a leader of the Dutch Republic, to come and become the monarch of Britain. Okay? And so you're like, okay, why would they do that? Why would they betray their own king, James II, and install a foreign monarch, William of Orange? Okay? And so the thing you need to understand is that throughout British history, what makes Britain unique is that the monarch has always been in conflict with the nobility. Okay? The king has always been in conflict with the oligarchs. And this is a continuous pattern. So ostensibly, the reason is religious, because James II was Catholic and Britain is a Protestant country. But the real reason is the nobility want to exert authority over the country, okay? So in this agreement, what would happen is that Parliament becomes the sovereign state, okay? It becomes the de facto power in England. And the king, William of Orange, agrees to be the puppet or the figurehead, but the real power is in Parliament. And so this creates the idea of national sovereignty. Okay? What people don't appreciate is that the real reason why they want to do that is they want to protect capital. Okay? Capital. Okay, or transnational. So the idea is that not only does William of Orange come over, but most of Dutch wealth come over. Because remember, at this time, the Dutch have a huge problem. They're constantly being invaded by Spain. So what you do is you take all the gold in the Dutch Republic and you transfer over it to England, okay? And so in 1694, they create something called a Bank of England. All right? And the Bank of England, the idea is this. The idea is that if you buy in the Bank of England, that gold is yours, okay? But the Bank of England will always be guaranteed by Parliament. All right, so this is a very important idea, guys. I need you to understand this for the rest of the semester, okay? So before, if you're a king and you need to go fight a war, you would borrow money from bankers and merchants, right? The problem, though, is that, one, you could lose the war, in which case, oops. Second is that you could die, in which case, oops. And the third problem is that you could just say, I'm king, I'm not going to give you back your money, okay? And so these merchants would have no choice but to try to create a revolution, okay? But as a merchant, as a capitalist, you don't want to go through this process. And so the Bank of England, it's really important because now you are lending money not to the king, but to the nation. Okay? What this means is that the nation has to pay you back. So even though the king dies, the people are liable for the debt. Okay, does that make sense? All right? So now, if you're a merchant, you feel safe. I can now put my money in the Bank of England. It's my money. If I lend it to the nation, I'm always guaranteed that they'll pay me back. Okay? And England is safe because, unlike the Dutch Republic, England is an island, and therefore it's protected by the Royal Navy. It's impossible for the French, the Habsburg Empire, or the Spanish to invade England. They've never been able to conquer England, and so it makes England safe, okay? All right? So now the question is, why would the Dutch, why would they put their money in England? Because remember, at this time, they can just screw you over, okay? So the way around this is you have some old techniques. You have intermarriage, right? and then you have religion, or what we call secret societies. Because remember, both the Dutch Republic and England are Calvinists, okay? And the major secret society that facilitated trade, of course, were the Freemasons. But during this time, these two were really between aristocrats. And the Bank of England was trying to get as much money as possible, right? So what they started to develop was a new concept. It's not a new concept, but they really systemized it. It's called contract law. All right, so there's a famous British philosopher named John Locke. And he said that what is government for? Government provides the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of property. All right? What that means is a government ensures you three rights. We will protect your safety. We'll make sure you won't die. Okay? We will make sure you have the right to do whatever you want, liberty, and also we will protect your private property. Okay? The entire purpose of Parliament and the courts, okay, the judicial system, is to ensure that your private property is protected, no matter where your private property came from. Okay? Doesn't matter. They don't care what the origin of private property is. Okay? So, like, if you're French and you killed 1 million people to steal 1 million gold, they don't care. It's yours. It's private. Okay? If it's and they believe that this private property comes from God. All right? This is yours because God willed it to be yours, and we, England, must protect it. And they will do so through Parliament and through the court system. Okay? Does that make sense? So now, if you're wealthy in Europe, you're now encouraged to go invest in England. Okay? And this creates a concept that today we call offshore financial center, or OFC. Okay, so think of like Dubai or Hong Kong, where they don't care where the money comes from. Okay? Their legal system, the financial system will help protect this money. Okay? Also Switzerland. Okay, so Switzerland is a classic example. But England create this, and they base their entire nation around this idea. Okay? Now, the first major test to the system was Napoleon, because Napoleon was about to conquer Europe, and England couldn't have that, because if Napoleon conquers Europe, then Napoleon could control all the wealth of Europe. He could make sure that no wealth is transferred over to England. He could basically blockade England. So what Britain did was they financed 7 wars against Napoleon. And they lost 6 of these wars. And they won the last war, which created the British Empire. Okay? So now Britain is a global financial empire. Okay, so this is the East India Company. Okay? And the East Indian Company, it's based in Britain, and like the Bank of England, it is private. And what it does is it primarily engages in trade with India, as well as the East Indies, okay? So what England will do is they will colonize India and steal all the wealth of India, primarily by deindustrializing India. So India had textile factories, but England, through a lot of policies, just bankrupted the India textile industry and transferred it over to England, okay? So now what's going to happen is this. What's going to happen is that resources from India, okay, agricultural products, resources are going to transfer over to England. England is going to, with its factories, make goods for India. So basically, the entire deal is, we Britain give you India $10, and India you give $1,000, okay? So basically, we give you $1 for the goods you give us, and then you pay us $1,000 for the goods we give you. Okay? So very quickly, this bankrupted England. But not only, this bankrupted India. Okay? But not only that, but you also had China as well. And the same idea was the opium went into China, and then silver and money went back to England. Okay? And then this money was allowed to go over to the United States. And the United States industrialized very quickly because of this policy. Now, the question is, how was England able to do this? How was England able to create a system in which India and China basically voluntarily gave up its wealth? And the answer is, England set up a game that incentivized the local elites to cooperate with England. Okay? So this is the way, this is what happened. So this is a map of the British Empire. Okay? So let's look at India and China. The local elites had to help the British do this, okay? The local elites had to help the British steal. The question then is, why would the local elites do that, okay? And the reason why is, remember from last class, the local elites are in conflict with each other anyway, okay? And what they're looking for is more power. And so what England said to local elites is, if you help us, we will help you steal the gold from this country. Okay, do you understand? Before, if you were an elite and you lost a war or the people didn't like you, they could kill you. But now, if you help the British, you can transfer your wealth and your children abroad. Okay, does that make sense? So, now what's going to happen is that the elite are going to be able to send their children and their wealth to the British Empire, okay? Okay? And there are certain mechanisms that allow them to accomplish this. The first mechanism is, of course, finance. Okay? So, not only are you allowed to transfer your capital to the United Kingdom and its colonies, but they will disguise it for you. This is what we call money laundering, okay?